Hello and welcome. How's everyone doing? I see some nods, some smiley faces, some hand waving. That's good. Hey, Meryl. Yeah, a bit of a loose check into today's session. A bit of a fun one since we're chatting about conversations and ways of communicating. I thought that I'm going to invite you to tune into your inner puppy and see how do you feel right now. Are you all business? Are you so fierce, super chill, sleepy, bit playful, or all smiles? I wish I could go for super chill, but I'm going to go for all smiles instead. Welcome. My name is Anna Maria. We are at Collab Fest. This is the second day of Collab Fest. We started yesterday. These are 2 days fully dedicated to the way we collaborate and the way we work together in a distributed world, remote, hybrid, etc. So the music you're hearing in the background can be locally managed by each and one of you. If you hover over that tiny bar, you can play with the volume. Amp it up, put it down. Feel free to do that. And thank you so much. I see that we are a bit of a playfulness here. I see obviously Mare bouncing back and forth and dancing. And we also have some sleepy heads here. That's fine. That's okay. We can take it slow. And if you are hearing something in today's session that really sparks something for you, like an insight, a light bulb that goes on, this is the invitation to share it with your network and with your friends on social media, on LinkedIn and on Twitter. If you're using the hashtag CollabFest 2022 and tag us, you'll be able to find your post and reward your learning out loud. And we are giving away free butter for life for a lucky winner. One person will get this tool forever and they can use it for free. And 2 other winners will get 1 year of free butter business to just experiment with all the features. So this is it. This is your the nudge that you needed to start using butter and bring in more delight into your workshops. So there we go. I leave it there for you. And closing up this poll and bringing up another poll. And I'm keen to hear if there's anyone in this room that is in butter for the first time. Excited to hear if there's someone that is meeting us today, right now, for the first time. And with this, I'm going to kill the music and allow some space to introduce our host today. João, hi. Say hi to the camera. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for accepting my invitation. I'm very excited about your session because you're bringing this amazing background of psychology and just knowledge on how we work and how we're wired as humans. And you're talking about such a beautiful topic as conversations. And also in the title of your talk, you've also placed kind of a friction already. So I'm looking forward to that friction. So conversation as competition and collaboration. I'm very excited for that. And everyone, if you don't know João, he discovered his taste and curiosity for words early on. So he's a wordsmith. He graduated in applied psychology, and ever since then he has maintained that clinical activity, remaining very close to psychoanalysis. So that's why I meant with this background and a lot of depth and knowledge into us humans. He is also the member of the Portuguese Psychologist Order and holds a special degree in work, social, and organizational psychology with an advanced specialty in psychological coaching. More recently, he has dedicated himself to the co-creation and facilitation of learning contexts. First in the European School of Coaching, where he was the pedagogical director and managing partner, and now as a managing partner and co-founder of Way Beyond. João frequently collaborates with academic institutions where he tries to make psychology for non-psychologists accessible to us all. He visits, among others, the Porto Business School and Nova Doctoral School and lives in Lisbon, Portugal. Joao, I tried to really pack as much goodness from all your expertise in that intro. I know it doesn't do you justice. Thank you so much for being here today. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you, Ana Maria. It's a great pleasure to be part of this experience. Yeah, I hardly recognize myself from that introduction, but I'll try to convey to you my passion for this topic, conversation, which is I can say with safety, it's probably my favorite topic. The struggle for me here will be to contain myself because we have 1 hour and I'm used to talk like for centuries about this topic. So my challenge will be to pack the secret sauce of the readings and writings and reflections that I've been doing about this, about conversation in general. And in this session in particular, I want to talk about a brief history of conversation. Let's try to do it in 10 minutes. Then I will propose that we'll try a methodology that one of my friends who also is passionate about conversations has developed based on David Bohm's work. He was not a psychologist, he was a physicist. And then we'll wrap it up with a practical framework or model, if you want, for you to take home to think about conversations and act upon conversations in probably with a different mindset. So this is what you can expect from this session. I hope that you will enjoy it. Please feel free to use the chat, or if you feel brave and courageous enough, unmute and ask all the questions that you might want to ask. Okay, so conversation. I really like to address any subject that I'm interested in by doing this. The same exercise is to look at the origins of the word, the etymology of the word, and then look at the dictionary to understand the current meaning of the particular word. So regarding conversation, what have I discovered? It comes from the Latin, conversatio, and it literally means from the Latin living with or meet frequently. So you get some of the vibe around this word from its Latin origins. And it's formed actually by two other words, com, meaning together, and turn towards other person. So this already explains the topic, the title of this session, because if you turn towards one another, you can fight or you can collaborate, right? So, but it implies turning your attention to other than yourself, other person, other subject, other thing, other than yourself. So that's conversation, explained by the origins of the word. The dictionary says that, more simply, it's just an exchange of sentences or words between two or more interlocutors. So easier, right? But this opens too much space for us to really understand conversation. Then that's when history comes in place. And I don't know if you ever heard the golden age, this expression, the golden age of conversation. In history, there were two golden ages of conversation. The first one was in the classical era, you know, the Greeks and the Romans, at least here in this part of the world, where conversation was the means, the technology, the main technology used by humans to make things happen, to evolve, to shift ways of thinking, right? This was the time where democracy was invented, for instance. This was the time where academy was created. the basis of science were all laid down in this period. The word academy, yep, Anna Maria said I like words, I'm a word geek. The word academy comes from the Greek akademos, and akademos were the forests that existed around Athens, where philosophers, the teachers, would take on walks with their students, and the classes, the supposed classes, were taken during these walks while they had conversations about diverse topics. The second golden age of conversation was closer to us in time. It started late 17th century, and it ended in the beginning of the 20th century. And there were two vibrant cities in Europe, Paris and London, where conversation was, again, the way for people to not just engage, but to evolve ways of thinking, shifting paradigms, and create culture as well. Culture with a capital C, and also with a small c. Have you heard of the Paris salons, for instance? Paris salons were run by the madames. The madames were very influential people in the Parisian and European culture back then. You might get a feeling of the line of business that they offered to their clients. So very high-end, luxurious services for the crème de la crème of the European society back then. And because they had so influential people on their salons, they innovated their business. And some nights of the week, they invited some of those very influential characters, like poets, other kinds of artists, philosophers, politicians, even aristocracy, in small groups in their salons to talk, to have conversations. Groups of 6, 8 people to have conversations. And this was a period, well, in the United Kingdom, there were no salons, but there were coffee and tea shops where people gathered to talk, and there were themed coffee shops. There were some that people gathered to talk about the current affairs. Other ones were gathered in the particular coffee shop to talk about poetry or philosophy or journalism or whatever. And the curious aspect of this second golden age of conversation is that it was the era where the most manuals about the art of conversation were written. And I've read a couple of them, well, more than a couple actually. And actually, the thing that I found out is they all say pretty much the same. The skill set, the mindset of a good conversationalist is the same, at least for this second golden age of conversation standards. They all said that it's important to not to take all the space in a conversation, not to be the protagonist all the time. It's also not cool. It was also not cool to stay silent all the time, not to participate. People expected you to say something. Discussion and argumentation was valued, but in a non-destructive way. There was a word that is quoted, I don't know how many times in these books, that is elegance. You have to do it with elegance. You have to do it presenting your point of view, adding up to the conversation without destroying others' point of views or making your point of view superior to any other. So there was one expression that I read on one of these books that stuck, and it's a conversation. To be a good conversation cannot have a plan. You cannot have an objective, a preset objective or a result that you want to get in a conversation to be a good conversation. The only goal of a conversation is to enrich all the people that are participating. So this was the mindset of conversation. Very collaborative, right? So you might be asking, so what destroyed the second age of the golden age of conversation? I'm not taking a political stance. I'm more like an historian right now, but it was capitalism. Capitalism destroyed the second golden age of conversation. Why? Because when you engage in business talk, you'll try to sell something or buy something to your best interests, while the interest of a conversation was not to have individual gain, direct individual gain, but was to enrich all the participants, including yourself. So this is a main difference. Of course, I'm being oversimplistic due to our limited time, but our way of doing things right now, it's influenced by a century of great advances in science, technology, and business. But this has hindered our capabilities to use conversation as a collaboration vehicle. We are more used to using conversation as a competitive space, if you want to. And yeah, so I'll now want to talk about this book. I don't know if you can see it. It's called On Dialogue from David Bohm. David Bohm was a physicist, like I said. He was a friend of another very well-known physicist that you might know as Einstein. And he, although he worked and was a major player in physics, he also thought and wrote about how we human beings collaborate and connect through conversation. And what I like to propose next is that we engage in a taste of David Bohm's way to have dialogues, conversation. Okay, but first I have to explain what this is, what a Bohmian dialogue looks like, and then we will try it for like 20 minutes or so. Cool with you? Yeah? Okay, let's go. So, for David Bohm, a dialogue is not a discussion. Dialogue for David Bohm is a collaborative space, and discussion is a competitive space regarding conversation. Okay, so this is the main distinction that you have to keep in mind for the next exercise. Again, looking at the word discussion, breaking the word apart, it means to shake things apart. Literally mean discussing means to shake things apart. When we engage in discussions, and I risk to say that probably in workplaces right now, 80 or more % of the conversations that we have are discussions. At least in my experience working with companies, in my own company, this happens. Although we try to preach, do what we preach, but it's not always easy. Normally, when we are in a discussion, or you can identify discussion, if the theme of the conversation is analytical. There are many perspectives, competing perspectives. The individual focus is on counter-argumentation. Our listening is to prepare our counter-argumentation, is to respond, not to add, but to respond to what is being said. And so this brings a need to defend our own perspective, our position. So this is what the discussion looks like. Probably sounds familiar, right? What's a dialogue? Dialogue literally means through the word, through words. And you know that you are in a dialogue when the conversation feels unified, where every input is felt of like being important, even if it deviates from the main subject of the conversation. The focus is not on responding, but on listening to understand. Not just to respond, but to understand. And for this to happen, it's important to get better at a very, very, very difficult exercise for all of us. That is, suspend our judgment, suspend our opinion. Not to eliminate it, because I think that we as human beings cannot eliminate our opinions. We are interpretive beings. So, but we can train ourselves to suspend our opinions. And in order to do so, we can adhere to other perspectives with much more success. A number of thinkers, in contemporary thinkers, talk about this. For instance, the Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman, in his theories about decision making, tells, for instance, that decisions are better made when you delay your intuition until the end, right? Have a mind of a scientist before, and then be more human at the end of the decision process. So these are the differences between conversation and dialogue. So, and David Bohm said this about dialogue: a stream of meaning flowing among and through and between us, making the entire thought process visible. So it's a way to be transparent about your own ideas and feelings about what is happening in that particular moment, in that particular conversation. Okay, so this is just to get you in the mood for the exercise. Normally, Bohmian dialogues normally happen in presence. And the setting is people sit in circles, and there's an object in the center of the circle that's called a talking stick, right? We here are gathering digitally through the wonderful tool Butter. But we will mix digital with analog in this exercise. I will explain in a bit. There's no talking piece, right? We cannot transfer through Butter yet physical objects. But we can do, for instance, this gesture towards the camera, and whoever does this gesture towards the camera grabs the talking stick. And everyone knows, so in the breakout rooms that will follow, you'll need to have your camera on for this to work. When anyone does this, that person has a talking stick and can speak. The others, their job is to listen when they don't have the talking stick. When the person that has a talking stick finishes speaking, returns the talking stick back to the camera. Okay? And then it's ready to anyone else to pick it up, you might say. So this is logistically how it will work. Okay? Yeah, so this is what you have to do. If you want to train this movement right now, if you want to exercise it, okay, perfect. You got it. That's it. So this is it. While someone has a talking piece, you can speak and the others listen. And when the talking stick is returned, it's available for other person to pick it up. Okay. So instructions, what you have to keep in mind when doing this exercise. Be brief and precise. Earlier in a session earlier, Ana Maria was making this lovely distinction. I think it was thinking to talk or talking to think. So in this exercise, talking to think is not the best way to do it. You have to think before and then talk. Okay, be brief and precise. Speak from the heart. The idea is to connect with what you are feeling than what you are thinking. Okay, so if someone says something that you like, when you have the talking stick next, you might say it. Well, I really liked what you said. It made me think, or it made me uncomfortable. I don't know how to express what I'm feeling. So this is speaking from the heart, right? Making your thought process transparent for the group. Okay. And then the last instruction is to, when you are not speaking, listen as you would like to be heard. Really, really try to focus yourself on listening. Okay. Silence is welcome. It's okay if silence is on for a long period, but it's also okay to break the silence. If you feel uncomfortable, if you want to say something, just do it. And keep this in mind. Another piece of wisdom from David Bohm. In dialogue, despite no one is trying to win, if someone wins, everybody does. This is very reminiscent of the golden age of conversation, right? The goal is not to reach something or somewhere, is just to be present in the conversation and then try to see what comes up. So, another quick tips. Do leave out of the breakout rooms your big preparations, your keynote speaker self. We don't want it in the breakout rooms, okay? Expectations and goal orientation. It's not expected to be goal-oriented in these conversations, okay? Instead, you might bring openness, deep listening skills, presence, the suspension of judgment or opinions, and the willingness to connect, okay? Normally, this happens with a seed topic and a facilitator. You won't have it. You will do it on your own, okay? The idea is to talk about a subject, and the subject is what's the future of collaboration. This is it. In spirit of the Collab Fest, the topic of your conversation will be what's the future of collaboration. That's it. Okay. Are you ready? So now I will set up the breakout rooms. We have about 15 people here. I think there will be 3 groups assigned randomly. When you enter the breakout room, the dialogue starts. The talking stick is available for anyone who wants to speak to pick it up. And in 20 minutes, I will call you back to have a conversation about your conversations. Sounds cool?
So, Mayor, what is the role of the facilitator? So today we won't have a facilitator. That means that whoever grabs the talking
the group
stick,
the group self-regulates.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm trusting that you will know how to do this, okay?
Let's do it. Exciting.
Okay, perfect. Let's do it. See you in a bit, 20 minutes. Good dialogues. Okay, now we're all again. So cool. This was your first taste of Bohmian dialogues without facilitation. It's a different kind of Bohmian dialogue. Does anyone want to share in 1 or 2 words? You can do it via chat or opening your microphone. What did you feel? What have you felt during the last 20 minutes regarding that conversation? How was it? Okay.
Having a talking stick definitely helps because we know who is talking and who is leaving the talk to others. So taking the floor is important. Also, setting the intentions from the beginning to actually listen to each other. The difference between the dialogue and discussion, having that defined from the beginning is important. And also, it opens up space to be interested in what others are going to say. And because we know they're going to talk precisely with clarity and concretely, it's easier to listen to, so people don't take too much time.
Thank you, Mary. That's one of the things that I really like about this methodology. It's fairly usual that people feel that this kind of conversation it's slower, and that's not a bad thing. One of the main differences between conversation as collaboration or competition, and when you are competing, you are racing, right? You don't need to race when you are collaborating. When you have a facilitator, I'm seeing your question here, Mir. When you have a facilitator, the facilitator just has to remember the rules when the group or someone is deviating from the rules. For instance, I was observing for a bit the two groups, and I've heard some words that are not forbidden, but might indicate that we are not in a Bohmian dialogue. For instance, when someone says, I agree, you don't have to. The idea is not to agree, it's just to add up to the conversation. Or if one says, I don't agree, the point is not to agree or to disagree. It's just what can you build on top of what has been said. So this is the role of a facilitator, just to nudge the group to engage in a conversation that is not competitive but collaborative. Okay, it implies some training, but it's not very difficult to do it when you have experience in dialogue. Yes, Victoria, please. You have the floor. No, sorry, at least not me. I can't.
We don't. Yeah.
Yeah, the connection is off.
Yeah, I think it was the permissions.
Just to, I had planned another block for this session, but I don't know. I'm feeling that you guys might have some questions on want to speak about the exercise of the methodology, and probably it's better to leave the other block behind and just to have a conversation about conversations. What do you feel about it? Yay or nay? Yay. Okay. So more questions about this. Are there a set of rules written someplace? The rules are those that I've showed in the flashcard and also spoke, but I can easily share with Ana Maria and find a way to for you guys to have the rules. But the other great reference is this. It's a very small book. You can see it. You can read it in a couple of days, or 3 days at least, and you can create your own methodology of Bohmian dialogues. Not this one. This was adapted by me and a friend, and well, you can find some rules here as well. He's very explicit. And also, if you like philosophy, he's also into that. Isabel, yes.
My thing is, when we are doing these dialogues in the digital space, we have the oral communication and the written one. And sometimes I noticed when we were in the breakout room, we didn't want to interrupt, but at the same time we wanted to comment something or say something. So should we stick to only one channel of communication and make sure that we are waiting for the other person to finish and then speak what we have on our heads? Or should we use the two channels, or are we going against the rules, let's say, like this?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. I've been doing for the past 2 years these kinds of sessions only online. We just started to do it in person not long ago, and I totally have the idea that you have to stick to one channel of communication. So no chat during dialogue, these kinds of dialogues. Okay, because one thing that happens with this kind of conversation is that each person takes a bit more awareness, is more conscious about his or her will to interrupt. And interruptions are part of discussions, not dialogues. So it's also important, like in a self-knowledge angle, to refrain your impulse to say that thing at that time, because it's not your time. The idea is to respect the time that the person that has the right to speak at that moment. And so this also influences group dynamics, but it starts with each one of us. And if you use the chat, you are cheating, right? You you are not refraining your impulses, you are just writing instead of speaking. And it's another form of interruption, if you want. Okay. I just want, before I proceed and give the floor to Victoria, I just want to say that I wrote on my facilitator notes, and I will post it here, something that I want to make clear. I don't think that dialogue is meant to be a substitute to discussion. Both kinds of conversation need to happen and have place in families, in work groups, in teams. But I do think that we need to balance, to even things up. We are too much used to discussions and not that used to or trained or able to participate in dialogues. And it's important to have a middle ground, right? Especially on if you're part of a team or you are leading a team. Yeah, Victoria.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, great, thank you. After your whatever you shared, I feel like everything what I'm saying is going to be so superficial. I was just gonna share that I couldn't and didn't take the stick because I realized that when I say things, I tend to say very short sentences. So when people started taking the stick and started saying longer, more thoughtful stuff, it just made me hyper aware of how common, how when I speak, I tend to be more of a commentator rather than almost as if what I say is more either a question to because I'm putting on a facilitator hat, or I just want to say a sentence, or I just want to say something for everybody to hear rather than to move things forward.
You touched a very good point, and thank you for that, Victoria. Another thing that this methodology might help to rise is our awareness about why we are saying the things that we want to say. What's the really basic purpose? It's just to be heard, it's just to take space, it's just to participate for the sake of participation. Is it to add to the conversation? Is it to engage in power dynamics, for instance? What's the real idea for you to engage in this conversation? It's why I said that it's okay to be silent. Not what they said on the Paris salons, you had to speak, but not here. It's okay to be silent. Silence can be a form of collaboration, can be a form of helping the group to reach to something new, just by being silent. And also, you can go to a level of detail. For instance, you can analyze body facial expressions and your body. If someone is talking and you are doing like this, you are agreeing, right? Or you are following, or it means something. But what does it really mean? Because most of the things that we do during conversations, like little nods or just saying yes or no or whatever, are like likes on a LinkedIn or Facebook post, right? Yeah, I like it, or I don't like it, or something else. And is it really needed to, do you really need to have those kinds of interventions or micro interventions? And I think that this methodology brings up these issues for us to reflect upon and analyze. I'm really sorry not to have more time to explain our conversation model, because I think it would fit on this part of the conversation. But yeah, this is the time that we had. I see that, Mary, you had a question. I don't know if Anna Maria, we have to hard stop or?
So if everyone who has something planned and their lives moves forward now at this time, it's obviously free to attend to other business, but we can stick around for another 5 minutes, and Mary, you can ask your question. And obviously none of us has to leave with things on our chest, and regarding to the model drawer, we're packing everything and all of the takeaways and book recommendations and mural boards and everything in a pack for the participants, so we can add that there, so nothing is lost. Thank you so much. This was an awesome session. Indeed, that felt much shorter than it actually was. Thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, Mary, if you want to stick around for a couple of minutes and ask your question, we're here for it.
It was more of a comment, actually, what I have experienced also. When the conversation is going slower, it's easier to realize the assumptions people have on what you're saying. Like, you say a word and it represents something completely different for that person or for the other people. So you start listening to the other perspectives of what you are saying, and it becomes really interesting, and to see different pathways of thinking, which teaches us that there are many different ways of thinking.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah. And also, this is a place I left in the chat, the link for an article where I introduced the conversation model that I wanted to have introduced, but did not at the time. And just to tease your minds a bit, it opens the space for me, the most rare and most important kind of conversation, that is meta conversation. Conversations about the way that you have conversations. And this is important for couples, families, friends, work teams, and all. So this is like a teaser for you to read the piece, and feel free to write me on LinkedIn if you want to exchange some ideas. It was wonderful to be here with you. I hope that you enjoyed the session, and well, enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you.
Thank you. This was awesome. Thanks everyone, and hope to see you very soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye.